Hello, Fabrizio. It's a pleasure to have you here with us again today. How are you keeping?
My pleasure. Good. Thank you. All perfect.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Well, there's plenty of names. You've commented on quite a few just today alone. I'm going to start off with one man I'm certainly rather interested in from a Liverpool perspective, and that is, of course, of Ajax's Jurrien Timber. So he's already spoken out on his future amid ongoing links to Liverpool and Manchester United, and has admitted that his agent had held talks with Ajax about his future, but he refused himself to commit to confirming to stay at Ajax. I just want to get your perspective on this. And, we've seen his agent has obviously held talks with Ajax, but has his agent been holding talks with any other clubs that you know about?
Yeah, honestly, on this one I think in general it's an interesting situation because Timber is a fantastic talent and is a player who was close to joining Manchester United 1 year ago. Then they decided to go for a different strategy because they signed Lisandro, so it was impossible to sign two players in the same position from the same club. But has always been a player in the list at Manchester United. So let's see if they will decide to return. But at the moment, I heard of different names there, like Kim, Disasi. So at the moment, it's not something concrete. For Liverpool, we know they're looking for a centre-back. I think, honestly, they will go for a left-footed centre-back in case they will find an opportunity. But this is still very early stages. So we have to see what kind of opportunities there will be. We know their focus is on the midfield. And also important, how much would be the asking price? Because, yes, today Timber spoke and said he still doesn't know what kind of future he will have at Ajax, but it's also true that he's under contract for 2 more years until summer 2025. So it's a situation where Ajax still have the control to decide also on the price tag. So it's important to understand how much this deal would cost.
You mentioned there about Manchester United's strategy. Obviously, we know they're looking for forward players in the market, and Liverpool midfielders is going to be the priority. But as you say, they're looking for a left-footed centre back. Would that, you think, potentially give them an advantage in the Timber race?
Yeah, I think this could be a possibility. It's important to understand also in this case the budget. I think the budget is a crucial point. I think this is not something imminent or urgent, so nothing is happening like today or tomorrow. But this could be a possibility probably in another moment of the transfer window when it's about the opportunity you have. You already completed maybe 2-3 important signings for your squad, and then you want to add something. Because, for example, the centre back from United in this moment is a possibility, but the priority is the striker, then the new midfielder, and then they will consider this possibility for a centre-back. Also for Liverpool, their full priority is to refresh the midfield after all the injuries they had, many players living on a free, so they need to do something in that position, and then to consider this possibility of the centre-back. So I'm sure Timber knows that he has to be patient. It was not an easy season for him at Ajax, really complicated. Not for him, he's an incredible player, but for Ajax was a really tough one. So I'm sure the player knows that it's important to wait, to be patient, and then to see in the next weeks, not now, what's going to happen.
So obviously Liverpool will sort midfielders first, and beyond that point when they begin to look at sort of centre halves that they could bring into the club to refresh the back line. Do you get the impression, have you heard that Timber's name is at the top of that list of centre halves, or are there other names that you feel the club will be more inclined to pursue?
No, honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is going to be only Timber or Timber top priority. I'm sure this is a player they appreciate, but it's not something like close or advanced yet. At this moment, we have to wait and see what happens there, because for Liverpool, again, the priority is the midfield, and it's not something to close now for Timber. Then we have to see what kind of player they want to sign. For example, a player they always loved is Josko Gvardiol. This is the reality, but they know that it's too expensive this summer, and this is the reason why they left the race for Bellingham. So it would make no sense to spend almost the same money on a centre back. So it's very clear that they are not going to do anything crazy on that deal, but they were looking and they're still looking for that kind of centre back. Timber has different kind of skills. So let's see what kind of idea they will have and what kind of budget, again, to spend on that player. But for Liverpool, I think it will take some time before they will attack a new centre back situation.
You mentioned one name there that certainly will interest plenty of Manchester City fans, and that is, of course, Josko Gvardiol. He reported he remains a top target for Manchester City. Leipzig are going to want a huge fee for him. Could you give us all an idea of what exactly it's going to take to prize away Gvardiol from Leipzig?
More than 80 million euros, so the most expensive centre-back in the history of the game. This is the idea of Leipzig. And I'm not sure that 80 or 85 would be enough. Sources close to Leipzig believe that maybe it could be around 100 millions to sign Josko Gvardiol this summer. Also because Leipzig know that probably they are going to lose many other players. Kunku is going to Chelsea. Let's see what happens with Szoboszlai. So they have many interesting players, and for them it's really important to make sure that Gvardiol only leaves in case they receive a big amount of money. Otherwise, they're prepared to keep the player for one more season and sell him for record fee again in summer 2024 after the Euros, where he will be again on the big international stage with the Croatian national team. So this is why they are not in a race. He extended the contract last year, so Leipzig feel protected on this one, but they want huge amount of money or nothing. Man City will try. Man City will try for sure because they like the player. Guardiola really likes the player. So let's see what kind of conversation they will have.
What kind of conversations are City having behind the scenes? Because obviously they're in a situation where they like the player, but if you look at potentially Ilkay Gundogan's situation, Bernardo Silva's situation, City could conceivably lose two top midfielders this summer, which certainly from my perspective would massively change their plans. I think they would need to prioritize, especially given the way they play. Guardiola absolutely loves his midfielders. They're so crucial to the way City play football. How can you see that affecting City's plans if they do lose those two players this summer?
Yeah, before you lose these two players, many things have to happen, because City are still negotiating with Gundogan. It's not an easy negotiation. He has many possibilities, but they have offered him a new deal for one more season with an option for further year. And also with Bernardo Silva. Paris Saint-Germain want him. Luis Campos wants to bring him at Paris Saint-Germain, but Man City will ask for important money. It's not a free deal or something like that. So it's not going to be easy. Then, in case both of them will leave, we have to see what kind of reaction Man City will have. They wanted Bellingham, but he's off to Real Madrid. They are negotiating for Mateo Kovacic. They have an agreement with the player, and they have to speak soon with Chelsea about the fee. But I'm sure that Manchester City will be ready on the market. They have this kind of structure where they're always ready to replace players when they want to go. So they are not going to force anything. With Bernardo, they know that he's probably ready for a new opportunity, but PSG have to pay big money. Otherwise, Bernardo will be ready to stay as 1 year ago. Barcelona wanted Bernardo, but they didn't pay what Manchester City wanted. The player ended up staying at Man City. So this is the idea. At City, they are not in a rush. Now it's probably time to enjoy this fantastic season and then to negotiate for Kovacic, which is a priority target in the midfield.
What kind of player do they have in mind? Because as you said, they're bringing in potentially Kovacic, but if both players go, potentially you're looking at another player beyond Kovacic. What sort of is there a particular name that you can give us, or a particular player profile that they sort of will be looking for?
Honestly, at this moment, no, because I'm sure that Manchester City, before having any guarantee of Gundogan and Bernardo out, know that it will take time. It's not something imminent at all. So it's not going to be an easy negotiation for Bernardo. For Gundogan, they still hope to have a chance. So for Man City now, the priority, I think, is Kovacic, because it's an opportunity out of contract in summer 24. So maybe to sign him for a good fee, not crazy fee, is a big opportunity on the market. And then to explore other potential opportunities. But it's not something advanced. It's not that kind of domino effect for City.
Okay, lovely stuff, lovely stuff. Obviously, the Eredivisie is going to be of great interest this summer. We've already mentioned Jurriën Timber. Another name that's attracting interest from Arsenal, we've seen in various reports, of course, that of Xavi Simons. We've seen that he's going to apparently decide on his future after speaking to his manager. But, what are his options and what's currently most appealing? Has he been having sort of any internal conversations with his agency about what would be his best next move if he doesn't end up staying?
Yeah, he has many possibilities. With Paris Saint-Germain, they have an option to bring him back to the club. So this is a concrete possibility. Then he has this possibility to stay at PSV Eindhoven, because PSV will try to keep the player for one more season and then promise him to go after the Euros in summer 2024. And then other clubs, because there are English clubs interested in Xavi Simons. At the moment, honestly, a lot of rumors, but nothing is advanced. The feeling I have speaking to my sources is that it will take time before he decides what he wants to do. He's not in a rush. He wants to speak to new PSV manager Peter Bosz. Then he wants to understand what kind of place they have in Paris, because Paris have this possibility to bring him back. But the final decision is up to the player. It's not a clause where only the club decides. It's up to the player to approve that move. And so there will be this sort of conversation, but I think this is something that is going to take weeks. It's not something that is going to be resolved in a few days.
Okay, lovely stuff, lovely stuff. And just from Liverpool's perspective, we've had plenty of sort of chatter about Gabri Veiga. It seems to be the case. It's a player that Liverpool admire. Liverpool obviously have a very, very long list of potential midfield reinforcements they could bring in. Is this deemed as sort of an alternative to Khéphren Thuram if Thuram doesn't work out as a deal? How does he figure in the list?
I'm not sure. I think they are completely different players. All the players Liverpool are following are completely different. Manu Kone, Thuram, Gabri Veiga. They have a list with many names, and then I think based on the fee, based on how much they will cost, and what kind of opportunity they will find in the market, they will decide what kind of opportunity they will attack. So at the moment, is not something decided. Thuram remains in conversations with Liverpool. Same for Manu Kone and his agents having conversations and exchanges with Liverpool. And Gabri Veiga is appreciated. They are tracking him. So this is the situation. They are named in the list, but at the moment, nothing else.
Okay. So you mentioned obviously that Arsenal are steering ever closer to signing Declan Rice. There are talks, but how come this just hasn't worked out between him and Bayern Munich? It's been widely reported Tuchel's a huge fan of the player, wanted him at Chelsea, wanted him at Bayern Munich. It seemed to be the case that Bayern would potentially have the funds to compete in the market. How have we got to this situation where Bayern are no longer sort of considered a sort of serious option for the player?
Yeah, they really like him, but the priority of the player is to stay in England. So let's see how this conversation with Arsenal will go, because this is not a done deal. We're still waiting for Arsenal to submit an official proposal, and then we will understand more on this deal. But Bayern want him. Thomas Tuchel is a big fan of the player since he was Chelsea manager. But the reality is that the player would love to continue in England, to continue in Premier League, and especially in London. This would be the priority. So this is why for Declan Rice, Bayern are there, but they know that it's on the player. It's not on them. They are prepared to attack the situation, but they're still waiting for the player. And now Arsenal are ahead of all the other clubs for Declan Rice.
Okay, lovely stuff. That's fantastic. Lots of exciting updates there for everyone to dig their teeth into. Fabrizio, just lastly, I mean, you've got the most successful sports newsletter on all of Substack. Absolutely thousands of people who clamour to hear your latest updates. In a few words, what's your reaction to that, and what in your mind makes the daily briefing so special?
Yeah, it's a nice opportunity to enter into the details of the deals. No, every single day we have many news, many stories, but with this opportunity on the Substack, we can be every single day on the details of every story, entering into every story. It's not always easy, because we know that on social media you can share many news, but so with this opportunity we can touch on many points and explain people what's really going on the market. And so I think this makes this Substack service very, very good for all the football fans.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Fabrizio.
Thank you, and see you soon.